you envisioned what you want but haven't figured out?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this journey with the most amazing Dr. Mickey Fineberg. But here's what I want to say about this show. What you're getting in this show, Inside the Mind of Hiring, is you're getting the world of expertise of somebody that has been on the forefront, on the cutting edge of what it takes for an organization to be able to look at an individual from multi-dimensions. And as they look at this individual, have a sense of, do they fit? Are they aligned? Is this going to be great? Is it a win-win? But how do you get there? Today's show is part 2, because we're looking at how do you go from the crowd to getting that offer? And why do you want the offer? Because you want the offer so you can decide, so you can choose. I sound like a Twilight Zone intro right there. But today we're going to take a look at the inside view and what that means. Dr. Mickey, let's tell everybody, from where you sit, there's an insider view to this, and you for sure are on the inside. You're on the inside of both the company's perspective, but you also see what that person goes through that's really trying to get that job. So the insider view gives us some information, doesn't it?
Well, it sure does. We're here to share that with, in this case, job seekers, to help them max their probability of being credible and distinctive enough to get that offer. And it takes some thinking and discipline and a little sense of humor at times, but some preparation as well. We talked last week about being aware and being in the moment and presenting the best version of yourself. And so today we should get into some specifics, I think, Dr. Pat, on the little things that can boost one's distinctiveness and credibility. How do you look in person? How do you present yourself physically and on paper? Your preparation in terms of being aware of the job and the company and the people or person that's going to be interviewing you. Starting with that initial connection, establishing rapport and a positive or favorable impression. And then, framing and expressing your answers in a credible and distinctive way. And of course, asking your own questions, because sometimes they ask you. I've heard a lot from companies. We asked the candidate to ask us a question if he had any question or she had any questions. No, they didn't. And sometimes that can set you apart. And of course, the way you close an interview can be important as well. And have a good degree of impact on the impression that you make in that brief period of time.
Yeah. See, I love this because I made a footnote during the playoff games this weekend,
Right.
and not about the play, because we could do a whole show about that, and leadership. We could do a whole show about leadership. It's like,
for sure.
Come on, Pittsburgh. No, but here's what I commented on. I was sitting there with my friends, and I was sitting there with Linda, and I said, did you see the back of their helmet? Okay, right? Now, these are the nuances we're talking about today. Right. These are the things you have to be aware of. And Linda says, what do you mean? I said, look at the back of their helmets. You see, Philadelphia Eagles is saying choose love. And I said, the Bills had something similar. And I said, do you know what that means? And she says, it's kind of interesting to choose love during one of the most violent sports games on the planet. And I said, hockey's more violent. But it has a meaning, and not all teams are wearing it, but it's sending out a message. Now, what's the impact of that? Just like going on an interview, the impact is when you're walking there, everything is up for observation, everything. And so some of these teams that are choosing to put that on their helmet are getting some backlash. Some of them are getting some kudos. But the point is, what is your degree of awareness when you're walking in that room?
It should be pretty high. I mean, you should have some idea. You should have looked that company up, what they do, how they add value. What are their own words for that? You should, being very should today, but the hiring managers typically on LinkedIn, and it's important to find out about, that person either through the company's website or through LinkedIn or another kind of social media to get a sense of who you're going to be talking with and how you can express interest and some validation for that person, and to get them to think you're a pretty good guy or gal.
Yeah.
And and you should have some awareness, or as much as possible, either intuitively because you've thought about it, and through reading about the company, what the job is probably all about, so you can sell yourself when it's time to relate what your abilities are and your attitudes to that role.
Yeah. Let's take a scenario. Let's take the scenario we talked about a little bit, but the one today is the considered for that regional sales engineering role by a company who designs and manufactures synchronized clocks. Now, let's just go through this example for people because it's a perfect example, right? It's an example, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a mission critical job for that great little company, that sales engineer role, because if nothing's sold, nothing happens.
No kidding, right?
Yeah, right.
And we see this a lot. We see that, the auto industry is a perfect example. If you're a dealership, you get what you get. The car's here, you get what you get. That's the end. But this is different. This is walking in and being able to have a profile of what the job is. What should somebody know? What should people be ready for in this interview?
Well, if you can find out, it's important to understand that the product is sold directly to facilities where synchronized timing or clocks are important. Educational organizations, when the bell rings and everything. It's got to be the same in sociology class as it is in English class. And it's important for people and the operation. I mean, they're important in airports, which is a key commercial organization that buys this and uses this product. And it's important in healthcare organizations as well, in terms of what people need to know and at what time, and both employees and of the healthcare organization and people that are patients in that healthcare organization, and the way things operate, and the timely way they have to operate. So it's an important product for companies right now, and in these categories. And again, they sell direct. They also sell through a distribution network. And the specs are degree, full 4-year degree in mechanical engineering, perhaps electrical engineering, even software engineering, because there's a software underpinning of the product and the way it works. But these technical degrees often give students a good background in software applications. So software applications pertain to the product and also to selling process, which is important to know. But if you have that ability in terms of software applications. You can apply it pretty easily to Salesforce or other sales facilitation kinds of software applications.
There are
And
so many businesses right now, Dr. Mickey, that require this. You know, I mean, because I want to emphasize how important this particular job is, and before we dig down deep into it. For example, my uncle was chief of police in Ramsey, New Jersey, and everything they did was synchronized in clocks. I mean, it was the minute that you had a call, you know, that name of the call, the time of the call, where you are in the call, where you're located, these minutes, these seconds, they are critical. They are critical, and they have to be the same. You can't be like, okay, wait, Joe, a minute. Like, you have 9:15. Well, you know, I got 9:17 over here. No, I got 9:15. Somebody's like, no, but you can't have that. Fire departments, every fire department. So we're talking about a job.
Right.
That,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, right.
So it's a big deal job. So you better have your best shirt on for this.
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay, so I interview candidates for this job. And a lot of the candidates I interview are Gen Z candidates. And God bless them. They come on Zoom or in person. They're wearing a tie, which impresses me. You know, they want their employers to take good care of them and make life interesting and wonderful for them. But a lot of their candidates are Gen Z candidates, and they put out a pretty nice picture. Yeah. And when they do, I let them know about it. You know, if I'm interviewing them, I let them know that I appreciate their coming to the occasion of this time with me, and let them, I reinforce it, I reward it. The minimum experience, interestingly, that they require is just some kind of customer engagement experience. It doesn't have to be direct sales. It can be customer service, but in a technical product environment. Of course, they might prefer candidates with some direct sales experience, but they just want to know you have the technical underpinnings to learn how to sell this product. Right. They want to know that you've had some success in interacting with customers around a technical product. They also provide a very rigorous training program. And in addition to that, they sell it as, if you can make it here and pass this program here, you can do it anywhere. So they want to let you know that the training is terrific that they provide. And that's rigorous. And, they expect their salespeople to go in with their customers and with their distributors as knowing what they're doing and coming across as credible. And it's very important. So, of course, they're going to interview you and test you to see, particularly if you don't have direct sales background, to see if you do have sales drive and motivation. You have the social inclination and the organizational capacity to focus on what you're doing and being efficient and making a good impression on people out there in a purposeful way.
And let's talk about some of the questions around this, because I love one of the questions that comes up on this, and be ready for it, folks. This is an insider. This is a scoop right here. When you're in a sales position, don't be surprised if you get asked, hold that thought. We're going to take a really short break. When we come back, get ready to write this question down, because you will get asked this question. Now, for me, I hire salespeople. I have a similar question, and 9 times out of 10, it throws people off their game. And I bet you can't wait to hear what it is. When you hear what it is, you need to be ready to answer this question, because I know you got uber prepared. You understand the tech. You understand this. But how well do you understand yourself? Let's take a short break, Stephan. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. And we are thrilled. This is a Dr. Mickey show. And just
Thank
so
you.
you know, this is a series that's going to dig really deeply inside the mind of hiring. There are so many layers of this that we're going to talk about. But Dr. Mickey has been an expert in this field for over 30 years. He's a psychologist to businesses. He helps individuals, and this is his area of expertise. And it is a critical area of expertise to really be able to look at and find the right people that align with your organization. He is the managing partner of Delta Consultants, and I want you all to know that you can find out a lot about, go to the website, deltaconsultants.com. Dr. Mickey is available for consultations to work with your organization or to even help you define that job. You know, how do you define a job like the one we're talking about today? And then how do you think about what to look for in this? And what are your potholes? You know, let's talk about that fabulous question that I said. This is the one that I find when I interview, I cannot get a straight answer. And the people that I do get a great answer from, they've done their homework. The question, Dr. Mickey, is this one, and let's stay in the context of this great job, this job right here. This is a cool job, right? Because it touches so many people. It's so important.
Right.
But here it is.
It's certainly, go ahead, ask the question.
So, Dr. Mickey, you're interviewing for this job, man.
Yeah, right.
What's your sales philosophy? What? My what philosophy? What's your sales philosophy?
Right. Well, the way I think.
What?
What?
That there are people that
we're not going to get past the question. But anyway, the first thing the way I think about selling effectively, and if I were a candidate, by the way, there's plenty of books out there, really good books on successful sales methods. And but the first thing I try to do is, whether I'm interviewing for this job or trying to sell a project as a consultant, is to get favorable attention and to make a favorable connection with the prospective client or the interviewer or the prospective employer. So if you know, so I want to validate them, and maybe something I find out about them, that they're into coaching hockey, let's say. And, I might see a picture on their desk with kids in hockey uniforms. And I go, well, are you the father and or the coach? And they answer the question. I said, well, it must be pretty enriching to, have that a part of your life when you're, you're developing kids around a sport, either as a father or their coach. And, it's amazing how people will take up on something like that. So, you really want to, with that, in a genuine sense, initially, it's part of the rapport connection to make people feel good about themselves and what they do. And it's important to validate that. So, I go for that.
Yeah.
And, it's
you gotta know your answer. I was asked the other day what my coaching philosophy was. I coach my sport. Right. And I was asked the other day what my coaching philosophy was. And good news that I prepped for this show, because I saw that question here, right?
Right.
And I said, it's very simple. We go from basics to ballistics. And they looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, basics. We start with basics, and then you go to ballistic play, which means that you're at the top of your game. There's nothing you cannot do. But you're not going to get there without basics. What do you mean by basics? See, this is what you've got to get under to answer the sales philosophy question. What do you mean by basics? I would tell you, it is a month that you're going to coach with me, and you're never going to hold the bat in your hand.
Right.
Really? I'm not going to. I said, look, that's an exaggeration. But the way you get to qualify to hold the bat in your hand is if you could tell me which way the ball is spinning.
Right.
Now,
yeah, because if you don't, you'll hit it into the
if
net.
you don't. And not everybody wants to work with me. So that's why you have to know the sales philosophy, because not everybody wants to play on the same field. But what is that sales philosophy for this job, Dr. Mickey?
Well, like I said, first you want to make an initial positive impression that builds your credibility and distinctiveness, and and saying something interesting that gets your prospect to open up and talk about themselves can be really effective, because you're validating them and making feel good about who they are and what they do. So that's important. As long as you're sincere about it, it's important. It's the way to start. And then you ask them what their role is in the company, and what they're trying to accomplish in their role. You can also say, are you a technical buyer, maybe a user buyer, an economic buyer? So you can get some insight on that, but also get them to define themselves. And of course, you want to say something like, "Oh, you're a technical buyer. That's really important here. So we're barking up the same tree today. I can answer your technical questions." It's important to get to know them and what they're trying to accomplish in their company and their role. Then after that, you start to weave in about, well, what can I tell you about our product and service? What do you think we can do, or this product, what got you interested in us today? What got you interested in my coming in to talk to you about, our product and service today? And you take it a little further, but you start about them. Then you move into the job about them and what they're doing, and what they're doing is important. And then you move into your product and service around them and what they know about their company and why it might be important for their company. At the same time, you're finding out what other interested parties and what their roles might be in the buying process. Again, economic buyer, technical buyer, user buyer, and how they're involved in that. So maybe you need to understand how or who you also have to talk to get fans around this particular product and service that you're trying to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I love about sales jobs, and you do this all the time, but they're my favorite. When I was doing recruiting, I would love to do the sales. I would like to give me the salespeople. I would love to interview sales. And they'd say, why? It's the most boring thing. I said, no, it's not. It's not. So let's talk about this for a minute, what you need to be prepared for. If you're hiring, if you're coming in for a sales job, what is the number one thing you need to be doing? Selling. You need to show them in the interview that you can sell, right?
Exactly.
But not oversell. And so I love this other question. It's one of the ones you ask, I believe, and it is the one where you ask, give me a situation where you had somebody do something they didn't want to do. I know this is one of yours, and I thought about that question. And here's what I want to know from you. When people get that question, the different parts of their personality show up. The smarty aleck will say, well, my partner. I got my partner to make me dinner. Okay. Right. So that may get you the first 5 seconds, but it's not going to get you an interview. Right. But it is such a powerful. And then the other thing is, I never get anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Okay, you're off the list. You're not going to get this job. Right. Isn't that a powerful question that everybody this is a message for all of you. I know this is going to turn into a short. You must be able to answer this question if you are interviewing in the sales job.
Yes,
and it is this question. Huh? Right?
Right. It is this question. Yeah, because it says something about your capacity to influence people.
But and I know, we have heard the most. I have interviewed so many people for us. I'm getting ready to interview about 50 people for our sales positions here. And you don't want the answer. It's like, I don't get anybody to do anything I don't want to do.
Right. Well, the person I asked recently about that didn't answer the question.
No.
Just didn't answer. Said something that had nothing to do with the question. But the interesting thing was, when I called that to their attention, they did answer the question fairly well. They did. But it's interesting. They were a little impulsive, and they didn't get the question. They started talking and forgot what the question was. And that's another thing about being in the moment that we talked about. You got to ask.
Yeah. So if you take away anything from this show, these are the questions you need to be prepared. Of course, you need to know about the company. For example, don't wear competitor colors in for an interview, because this is the coach. I don't do Dr. Mickey coaching. I do the other side of this. I get you physically and mentally ready.
Showmanship.
Exactly. Dr. Mickey is going to tell you, this is what you say, what you don't say. This is how you get in there. This is how you make the assessment. But there are just nuances, and we're going to do a fun show on this, is what happens when you wear the competitor colors for your interview? Hello, you're finally realizing you're in the wrong job interview.
Not good.
Not good. But Dr. Mickey, these questions, people don't think about asking. They're not in books. They don't show up, but this is the value you bring.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is to find out about people and what their motivations are, and what their focus is, what their attitudes are, because that really is what drives the kind of behavior that you're looking for in people.
I'm telling you, it is important. For example, if you're going to do a Zoom call, you better know, if you look at my background, you better know what that painting means in that language. Because the worst thing you could do is what I did, put something on the wall in a language that I don't speak, and have somebody that speaks it say, do you know what that says on your wall? It's so important. That's why we're doing Inside the Mind of Hiring. The mind of hiring.
Well, there's this interesting sculpture behind me.
Oh, I love that. That's got my name on it.
I interview a lot of people. Very, very rare when people ask me about that sculpture. What is it? What was the artist trying to say with that, do you think?
I want to hold this question for our next show, because I want to talk about that in our next show, because they're called nuances of winning.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And distinctiveness. And if you're distinctive, you're more likely going to win, especially if you're distinctive and credible.
And that's why Choose Love on the back of a football helmet got my attention. Dr. Mickey, thank you so much for today. We are really warming up with this show. Moving forward, we're going to get your questions. We're going to be sending things out over social media. We're going to asking, what do you want to know inside the mind of hiring?
Right. I love questions.
We're going to get some questions. We're going to have some fun. And please do not wear your competitors' colors for an interview. No excuses for not knowing that. Dr. Mickey, right?
Right.
All right. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.